Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Vijay. Today we are going to talk about something called MCP. It stands for Model Context Protocol. Now, don't worry if that name sounds technical. By the end of this session, you will understand exactly what MCP is. You will know why it exists and you will know how it works. This is not a coding session. We are keeping this purely conceptual. So anyone watching this video can follow along, even if you have zero technical background. So get started. Alright, so here is a quick look at what we are covering today. First, we will talk about the problem that existed before MCP came along. Then we will define what MCP actually is. We will keep it in the simplest possible way. After that, we will break down the three main parts of MCP. That is the host, the client, and the server. We will walk through how a request actually flows. We will go step by step. Then we will look at some real world examples. That is where it all clicks. And finally, we will talk about why this matters. We will also cover how you can get started. Sounds good? Let us dive in. So before we talk about what MCP is, let us talk about the problem it solves. Imagine you are building an AI assistant. You want to read your files, you want to check your Slack messages, you want to pull data from a database. Here is the issue. Every single one of these connections needed its own custom code. So you had 5 AI applications and 10 different tools you needed to connect. You would end up building 50 different custom connections. People call this N times problem. N assistant times M tools equals a giant mess of custom wiring. It was slow, it was expensive, and every team was solving the same problem over and over again. So this is exactly where MCP comes in. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. In simple terms, it is a common language. It lets AI applications talk to outside tools and data sources, and it does this in one standard way. Think of it as a agreed set of rules. Once a tool speaks this language, any AI application that also speaks this language can use it. No custom wiring needed. It was introduced by Anthropic, and it is now open and used across industry. So instead of building 50 custom connections, you build one standard connection, and it works everywhere. Now let us make this even simpler with the analogy. Think about your laptop before USB-C existed. Every device had its own charger. Every device had its own cable. It was a mess with different plugs. Then USB-C came along. Let us just agree on one plug shape. Now your phone, your laptop, your headphones, and your camera can all use the same cable. MCP is basically doing that for AI. Instead of a different plug for every tool, there is one standard connector. Any AI model that supports MCP can plug into any tool that supports MCP. Same plug, same benefit. Alright, now let us look at the actual architecture. MCP has 3 main players. The first one is the host. This is the AI application that the user actually interacts with. Think of Cloud Desktop or an AI assistant inside your code editor, for example. The second is the client. This lives inside the host. It manages a single connection to one specific server. The third is the server. This is the actual tool or data source being connected. Think Google Drive or a database or Slack, for example. So the flow is simple. The host talks to the client. The client talks to the server, and the server exposes what it can do back to the model. Let us zoom into the host for a second. The host is basically the brain of the operation from the user's point of view. It is the application you are chatting with. It decides when the AI models needs extra information. It decides when to call a tool, and it takes whatever comes back and feeds it into the conversation. This is how the model actually uses that information. Examples of a host would be Cloud Desktop or a chat inside a code editor or any custom AI agent someone builds. The host is what you as a user actually see, and it is what you interact with. Now, inside the host lives something called the client. here is the important part. One host can have many clients running at the same time. Each client manages exactly one connection to exactly one server. Say your AI assistant is connected to Google Drive. It is also connected to Slack, and it is also connected to a database. That is 3 separate clients, each one quietly managing its own conversation with its own server. Think of the client like a dedicated phone line, one line per tool. This keeps things clean and isolated. One tool having an issue does not break the others. And now the third piece is the server. The server is where the real capability lives. This could be a connection to your files or your company database or Slack or GitHub or literally any system you want the AI to reach. The server's job is to tell the client what it can do. It shares the actions you can trigger, it shares the data you can read, and it shares ready-made templates you can use. So the server is basically a menu of capabilities. And that menu gets exposed to the AI model in a standard way. So servers exposes their capabilities using 3 simple blocks. The first is called tools. These are actions the AI can take. Think sending a message or creating a record. The second is called resources. These are pieces of data the AI can read. Think a file or a database entry. And the third is called prompts. These are ready-made templates that guide how a task should be done. So when you hear someone say a server exposes tools, resources, and prompts, that is really all it means. Actions to take, data to read, and templates to guide the work. Okay, let us actually trace through what happens step by step. Say you ask an AI assistant to summarize a file from your Google Drive. Step 1, you type your request into the host. Step 2, the host realizes it might need an outside tool. It asks the model what to do. Step 3, the model decides it needs to call a specific tool. The tool is exposed by the Google Drive server. Step 4, the client sends that request over to the server. Step 5, the server goes and fetches the actual file content. Step 6, that content comes back through the client to the host. And step 7, the model uses that content to give you a final answer. All of this happens in seconds. And as a user, you just see one smooth response. Let us make this real with an example. Say you're using Cloud Desktop and you have connected it to your Google Drive using an MCP server. Now you can simply ask something like, find my quarterly report and the key numbers. Behind the scenes, the host recognizes this needs a file. It calls the Google Drive MCP server. The server searches your actual drive, it finds the file, and it returns the content. The model reads that content and it gives you a clean summary. Without MCP, this integration would have needed custom code. That code would be written specifically for this one connection. With MCP, it is just a plug and play server. Here is another example on the business side. Imagine a support team is using an AI assistant to connect through MCP. It connected to 3 things: their ticketing system, their internal database, and their Slack workspace. A support agent can ask a simple question like, show me all open tickets from this week related to billing, and also post a summary in the team channel. The assistant pulls ticket data from the ticketing server, it checks customer details from the database server, and it posts directly into Slack using the Slack server. 3 completely different systems working together, all through one consistent protocol. That's the real power here. Let us quickly compare how things used to be done with traditional APIs. With a traditional approach, every AI application needed a custom integration, and that was for every single tool. It was not reusable, it was slow to build, and it was hard to maintain. With MCP, a tool builder writes one server one time. Every single AI application that supports MCP can now use that server instantly. It is reusable, it is standardized, and it scales much better. This is really the same shift we saw. USB-C replaced dozens of proprietary chargers. So why does all of this actually matter? First, reusability. Build a server once and any compatible AI can use it forever. Second, speed. New integrations that used to take weeks can now take hours. Third, consistency. Every tool behaves in a predictable, standardized way. And fourth, a growing ecosystem. It is an open standard. So companies all over the world are building MCP servers for their own product. This means AI assistants are becoming genuinely useful. They can finally reach the tools and data people actually use every day. Right now, there is a fast growing ecosystem of MCP servers. They are already built for popular tools. Things like file systems, databases, Slack, GitHub, Google Drive, and project management tools. Many of these already have ready-made servers available. Companies are publishing their own official servers too. So more and more the tools you already use every day likely already have an MCP server ready to connect. This is very similar to how App Store grew. So how would someone actually get started without writing any code? Most AI applications that support MCP have a simple settings section. You can browse and connect available servers there. You basically pick the tool you want to connect. Think like Google Drive or Slack. You authorize access, and this is just like logging in normally. And from that point on, your AI assistant can use that tool naturally in conversation. No engineering team required for the basic setup. Of course, developers can also build brand new servers for tools that do not have one yet. But as an everyday user, connecting is genuinely simple. Alright, let us bring it all together. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. It solves the problem of every AI tool needing its own custom integration. It works through three parts: the host, the client, and the server. Servers expose tools, resources, and prompts. And the real world impact is simple. AI assistants can actually reach your files, your apps, and your data. And they do it in a safe, standardized way. Think of MCP as the USB-C of AI. One standard connector, so everything just works together. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.